Well, welcome to the product call, everybody. My name's AJ Willoughby. Glad to have you with us tonight. I'll tell you, we have got an incredible night. If you think you know about the M3Z sleep spray, I'm telling you, you're going to learn a few things tonight, because this is so much more than just something that helps you sleep better. This is something that makes major changes in people's lives, and it does a lot of incredible stuff. And people that have really struggled with sleep, just how it works. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to start off. We've got a few people that are going to be sharing their testimonies tonight and sharing what it does. And then we've got our head of the Medical Advisory Board, Scientific Advisory Board for M Network, Dr. Fred Templeman, with us tonight. And he's going to be telling us why it is that we're seeing some of these changes and what it is that it's doing from a medical standpoint, or a doctor's standpoint, or from Dr. Fred Templeman's standpoint. So to get started, we're going to go to Sheila Denton. Sheila, so tell us a little bit about your story and what M3Z, what it's meant for you.
Okay. We when the product was available, we ordered it right away and started taking it. And within really the first night, the next day, me and my husband both were like, yeah, I slept a lot better. Did you? And he said, yeah. The next day after that, we just could really tell how much more rested that we were. But mostly I'm not a morning person at all. Have never liked to get up early. Always like to go to bed a little later and sleep a little later. But I have noticed that I wake up earlier and I feel more rested. It's just been incredible. Dreaming, we've both been in like a deep sleep. But again, the biggest thing I've noticed is just how much more rested I feel, and I don't need as many hours as I did before. So energy levels better, that kind of thing. But I really noticed how incredible the product is when I went to my mom's to spend the night and forgot the product and was awake all during the night. She has cuckoo clocks, and I heard every one of them. I think she has 4, and they're all different. She has them set different times, so that because she enjoys that, but I did not enjoy it when I did not have my sleep spray, and so it really, I will not forget it again. It's just really an incredible product. So main differences is just the way I feel when I wake up. I don't dread getting out of bed. I just have more energy when I take it. So I can tell a big difference.
So Sheila, even though you're getting up earlier, your energy and everything, you're a whole lot more rested.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, I used to lay there and think, I want to hit the snooze button, and none of that. I just get up and ready to go. Even if I try to go back to sleep, sometimes I'd wake up and look at the clock and I'm like, I used to get up at 7:30 or 8, and now 6:30. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I don't need any more. I'm good. So it's incredible.
So adding that extra hour a day into your life, I imagine that's making life a whole lot more productive. And just
absolutely.
And also the fact that you got more energy.
Absolutely. Yep. That, and then, able to get up and get going with my Go Sticks and other thing. I've got it made. It's good. Yeah.
So Dr. Templeman, talk to us a little bit. Tell us a little bit what's going on. Why is it that she's getting better sleep, more sleep, but in less hours? What's up with that?
Well, as you may know, there are 7 usage patents for this particular product. The product is something that exists. It's a chemical produced by plants only when they're young and growing, so that after the plant gets to the point where the stem starts to split and goes up, you have to harvest it before that first split takes place. So in a sense, it is an extract of a green product, because these are sprouts And we do eat a lot of sprouts in different ways, and we've been sprouting wheat for years for the nutritional advantages that it has. When it's in sprouts, it doesn't have that many nutritional advantages anymore once it's out into fruit, but it certainly does still in its green form. And so we're taking something from the plant that exists only temporarily. The reason why you have to harvest it at that point is because it's no longer present once the plant begins to mature. So you're using something that is actually, if you want to think about it, an energizing product for the plant as it moves from seed to seedling into sprout. And beyond that point, it's a growth factor. And growth factors are all very similar to the kinds of things that we call neurotransmitters in the brain. We do have human growth factors as well, and some of them have been very firmly identified, but there are still many that we don't understand. And when the studies were done for these usage patents, they were done largely on the basis that this particular product, when taken into the human body, and here I'm just going to speak for a minute about how it gets in there. Remember that in that little spray that you're going to be spraying into your mouth, ideally under your tongue, but anywhere in the mucosa is fine, has more than 7 billion particles, 7 actually trillion particles. An ordinary spray may be in the billions, but the whole bottle is certainly, there are more particles of active ingredient in there than there are cells in the human body. So it's pretty amazing. And it is the first product that M has brought to the table, which involves nanotechnology. This is a technology which is used widespreadly used in the pharmaceutical industry, and to a certain degree in the manufacturing industry as well for non-nutrients. But medicines are almost all nano or smaller. And so we're moving into an area where a very, very, very small amount of product can make a striking difference so much more rapidly, because after you spray these little particles into your mouth, they happen to be so small that they do not require anything except diffusion capacity to move down into the bloodstream, right through those little blood vessels that you can all see under your tongue. And if you could look into the mucosa of your mouth, you can realize that it is amply supplied with capillaries. Then things can begin to be absorbed right there in minutes, not in 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, but it's in immediately. The effect may lag somewhat as it spreads throughout the body and eventually gets into the brain, which is where you want it to go. And realize again that there are so many things that are out there as sleep aids that are, first of all, have to pass through the digestive tract, and then they have to pass through the blood-brain barrier. And for anyone who's interested, I perhaps will post a little bit of a scholarly thing that I didn't write, but a good friend of mine wrote it, about the blood-brain barrier that will help people understand why it is so hard to get things into the brain. Most nutrients, in fact, do not pass in an unmodified form into the brain. So the fact that we have something in our armamentarianism that we can spray in our mouth, in minutes, it's in the bloodstream, and within even a few more minutes, it is across and into the brain, is really something that makes this product exceptional. Now, why does it cause the increase in sleep quality? That, we believe, is due to the good feeling hormone, which rises marginally, and everything sort of shuts down in the brain as far as hormone production is concerned when you go to sleep. And in fact, you need a dominance of the kind of slowing down neurotransmitters in the brain to get to sleep. And serotonin, which is the element, the neurotransmitter, and we call it the happy hormone, it is the thing that we need to have rise up along with GABA. GABA butyric acid is another one of these calming sort of effects that we have. We've certainly got lots of adrenaline-like substances that do get into the brain or are produced in the brain as neurotransmitters, but this is the complete opposite end of the spectrum. And so keeping yourself asleep, getting there is important, and we have a gland called the pineal gland deep inside the brain that produces melatonin. The interesting thing is that melatonin cannot go into serotonin, but serotonin, when it's present in high enough quantities, can be converted into melatonin in fractions of a second in the brain. So many people tend over time not to be able to get to sleep. This is the sleep latency, how long before you go to sleep after your head's on the pillow. And that latency is increased as you get older, and the wakefulness, the number of times that you get close to the surface of sleep and actually may get up and have to move around or whatever, that increases with age as well. And both of these are involved, melatonin in long-term release and serotonin in increased capacity, not to the point of waking, but in the increased capacity that gives the quality of sleep that allows what is called stage 3 sleep. Now, you can have REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement sleep, and that certainly does a lot to sort of finish with the affairs of the day and decide what the brain is going to keep as memory and what it's going to discard. But stage 3 sleep, which is the deepest stage of sleep, is where your immune system gets recharged, where your proteins get repaired, and where the things that happen are essential to you waking up and feeling repaired. So we say that we feel better, but what we actually feel is renewed. Some renewal process has gone on. And you may remember that when we talked to the people who had the little timers on their hands, on their watches, that would tell them what amount of sleep they were in, they had an increase in REM sleep, but the greatest increases, in fact, in one of them, a trebling of the deep sleep where all of this restorative work is done, there were 3 times as much deep sleep. And I believe that that's what we would be seeing if we could monitor in someone who just gave us that story of feeling so much better. It's because of the stage 3 sleep, which is increased. And that is absolutely essential to good health.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, that's incredible information. So right now, though, I want to go on ahead and we're going to go to our next couple that is got some incredible testimony on this. And let me make sure I got them unmuted here. But John and Paige Zenas. And if you've not had a chance to meet John and Paige, I'll tell you, John is a fireball and Paige is the one that keeps them together. So a power couple here that are really great friends of ours and great leaders in this company. But John, Paige, you all have some incredible testimonies of what this product has been doing for you all. Why don't you go on ahead, and I don't know who wants to start, whether Paige, you, or John.
Ladies first, right, AJ?
Yep.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, AJ, for allowing me to share my awesome story tonight. So I suffer from this fabulous thing called restless leg syndrome. If anyone knows of it or has it yourself, you know how challenging nighttime can actually be. I love to sleep. I love naps. I love bedtime. I love sleep. But in developing restless leg syndrome, I got to be really fearful of bedtime and sleep time because I literally felt like I was a fish in a frying pan that had grown legs. Every single night I would flip, flop, my legs would go all night long like I was riding a bicycle or running away from a bear or just doing something. My husband would elbow me all the time, stop snoring, stop it. So by morning time, either I was out of the bed and in the spare bedroom, or he was out of the bed in the spare bedroom, or downstairs in our basement. It got to be to the point where I couldn't stand it anymore. I literally wanted to cry every night when I go to sleep because I was not sleeping. I was fighting and thrashing around all night long. So I was to the point where I was going to contact my doctor, just give me something, I need something. And he kept saying, please hold off just a little bit. We are having this amazing sleep spray come to us. Would you say within 2 nights? Within 2 nights, when I woke the next morning, he was like, it's a miracle. You were not kicking all night long. Your snore is now a low hum. He said, I really kind of have to listen to it now. And he reminds me, if I fall asleep watching TV, he'll say, hey, get your sleep spray. Because I'll start snoring and I will catch myself snoring and wake myself up. And I know now, get your sleep spray. So it's just been wonderful. I'm able to sleep once I take it. It might take me like a half hour to fall asleep. So I try to take it about a half hour before I want to go to bed. And once I take it, I can feel myself relaxing and I'm out. I don't feel like I'm that fish in the frying pan anymore where I'm getting burnt on one side, so I jump to the next and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not riding the bicycle all night. So it's been absolutely amazing to me to have my sleep back again. And I enjoy bedtime and nap time again.
You know, Paige, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Listen, somebody wrote me a question the other day and said, which one of the M products will make a difference with restless leg syndrome? And I went back and said, to my knowledge, we don't have a product that will make a difference with restless leg syndrome. So I'm going to tell to everybody who's within the sound of my voice right now, if you have stories of the restless leg syndrome abatement, because there aren't many medicines, there are some medicines exist for it, but they don't work and they have terrible side effects. And really, it is something that really doesn't have a solution. So if it's working for you, I would love to hear if it is working for other people who have had disturbed sleep because of body movement.
Okay.
I'd like to hear it. It's sometimes, it's not always legs. Sometimes it's whole body movement. Some people just move their arms and to the point where they have to sleep alone.
Yeah, I did. It was awful. Yeah. And you can send anyone my way. I'd love to share it with them because it's been such a life changer for me. I not getting sleep and then having to deal with 4 kids, 2 of them being, one totally high strung and one with special needs and running all day long. I would catch myself driving to appointments and falling asleep, and that's not good. So,
and honestly, Dr. Templeman and AJ, on Paige's story, I can add to that I never saw somebody go to bed so tired and wake up more exhausted in the morning, and that was not good. Especially, again, dealing with 2 kids with special needs and with 2 adult children, and of course me, is not an easy job, as anybody would know.
Just you, John, wouldn't make
just him.
Just me alone is enough to tire somebody out by 9 o'clock in the morning, guys. So I'm thankful for what this has done for Paige, and again, that we can actually sleep in the same bed. And honestly, after those first 2 days of trying the product, I think I put a Facebook post up that said something like, I feel like I've been sleeping with another woman. Please don't tell my wife. Because, I actually, a couple of times I've actually had to look over to see if she's actually breathing. And I'm not kidding you. Because somebody flopped around like a fish in a frying pan to, sounding like a locomotive to being in a dull hum, kind of scared me a few nights because I'm like, is she alive? Is she breathing? And she is, and she's getting up and I wouldn't say she's completely refreshed because she still knows there's a long day ahead of her, but she's not depleted more so than she was when she hit the bed, the night before, which is an awesome, awesome thing in itself.
That's an incredible testimony. That really, really is. So now, John, you've got your own testimony along with the fact of you and your wife, but some anxiety issues and different things. Tell us a little bit about that. What's been happening with you?
Yeah, it's funny because honestly, it was back in January of this year when I started hearing grumblings of this potential sleep aid coming out. And then we arrived at a leadership event in Park City, Utah back in January. We all received this beautiful little white product with a very fancy name on it. It said a sleep preparation is what it said. And I'm like, whatever. So I'm thinking, what is it? What's it do? And And my daughter, I have an older adult daughter. We have an adult daughter turning 24 this year, believe it or not. We're only 32 ourselves. We have a 24-year-old daughter. And she has her own issues, which we won't talk about, her challenges, but we'll just say this. I didn't use the product right away. Paige didn't use the product right away because we felt as though she needed the product. And she's actually had her own good results with it. Story for another day. So I didn't use the product right away. I didn't say this isn't going to work. I just want to see what it would do for her. And we started to see some good results. So we ordered the next rendition of it, which looked like this. Okay. We're making an upgrade here. And I sporadically used it. I mean, sporadically, a couple squirts, one night, a couple squirts, a few nights later. And I kind of let it go by the wayside. Now, I'm pretty high energy. If anybody knows me, I got a little bit of energy. But even I get tired throughout the day. And, as, I stay up late, unlike Sheila, who likes to go to bed early, sleep in, I'm just the opposite. I like to stay up late, get up early, and get as much done as I can. So I live off very limited sleep to begin with. But sometimes my body would tell me by about noontime that I was lacking some energy. And not only that, I experienced some things back in February, at the latter part of February, where the situation arose that I had to go to New York. I had a sister who's 68 years old, who's no longer with us, that was suffering some health issues. And I made a trip plan about 3 weeks prior to that to go visit with her in the hopes that I'd be able to have some good, quiet time and, share some stories and just spend time with my sister. And unfortunately, when I got there 3 weeks later, within 24 hours of me getting there, actually about 12 hours, she passed away. And this is my big sister, and me being a little brother, it hit me kind of hard. She was actually the same age my father was, 68 years old, and he passed away over 30 years ago. And I came home from that trip kind of down to the dumps a little bit, like a lot. And it hit me hard. And because you think you're going to have your big sister around for a little bit longer than 68 years. And, there's a few occasions, like many, over the next couple of days after coming back from that trip, where I just didn't feel like me. I was kind of down in the dumps, dragging myself to get out of bed, dragging myself to go into the Salt Lake region. And more than one occasion, and I think my wife knows this, I think I've shared this with her, on more than one occasion, I actually didn't care if I made it home. I'd actually sooner just drove into the Great Salt Lake, Fred and AJ. Didn't really care. Didn't have a care in the world. Didn't want to be here. Sorry to say that, but it's just how I felt. I was so down in the dumps that I didn't really want to focus and face anything that was coming at me. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to get over this? Because it kind of sucked, for lack of better words. It was a crappy feeling. And I remembered that we had some bottles of this product around, and by now it was already helping Paige with her issues. So like, what do I got to lose by trying? At least if I can get some sleep and get my mind at ease, that'd be great. Well, same thing for me. In about 2-3 days max, I didn't feel like driving into the Great Salt Lake anymore. And I didn't feel like the world had me by the bootstraps and like dragging me around anymore. Now, does it mean life is perfect every day? We have 4 kids. Life is far from perfect. Trust me. There's days that we want to take ourselves and move ourselves to a private island and don't tell anybody where we're at. Okay. But I don't want to drive that island through the water, and I don't want to drive into the Great Salt Lake. Life has become more manageable. My energy levels, because of actually getting that sleep that I need, whether it's 4 or 5 hours, which some nights it's all I get. But those 4 or 5 hours that I get are phenomenal. If I get 6 or 7, forget about it. I mean, I bounce out of bed like a rocket ship every morning. I am running up and down the staircase, and the Paige is like, whatever you're on, you need to get off it for a few minutes. I still need to wake up over here. And so not only is the M3Z taking some issues of feeling at an all-time low, and Fred, I gotta be honest with you, Dr. Tumpman, I didn't understand the difference between melatonin and serotonin. I had no clue. I had no idea there was a difference. I've heard the words before, but I had no idea there was a difference. I didn't understand that, our product actually takes people, correct me if I'm wrong, if your serotonin levels are out of whack, if they're too high, they come down, if too low, they go up. And I started research and listened to more of what you said over the last few weeks. I'm like, this product's incredible. Incredible. So it's totally changed my life, from a perspective of, and guys, this isn't a sales pitch. For those that may watch this later, looking at our product, this ain't a sales pitch, but this product is way underpriced and way, you got it sideways, way underpriced. And it is, a lot of companies like to oversell, underdeliver. By far, this thing has over-delivered by far. Please don't raise the price, Ryan. But we love the product, and we use it on a nightly basis. with life-changing results. I'm glad to say that I can now drive up and down the freeway without wanting to drive into the Great Salt Lake. And I just want to look at it out my window now.
That's it. Dr. Templeman, go ahead. Explain what's going on here.
Well, what I was going to say that I think will be important is that there is nothing on the market out there anywhere for sleep that falls into this category, with the exception of Benadryl. All of the sleep aids that have a little bit of pain reliever in them, such as NyQuil and those kinds of things, they all have Benadryl. That's a drug, an antihistamine that is in them that causes them to sleep, causes people to hopefully get to sleep. But it's a tremendous amount of product, and it hangs over to the next day. It's got a very long half-life, and you're using a medication for something that you don't need medication for. This product, at the price range where it is able to make money for the company and for you, and still deliver at something that is cheaper, literally cheaper than anything you can find on the shelves, and it's completely natural. Now, that's because there is an infinitesimally small amount of the natural product that is required when you use the nanotechnology. And you can imagine what that does to costs. If you're having to take 1/4 of a pound of product in order to be able to make a run that would be appropriate for what you would be able to sell, and then you can do the same thing with a tablespoonful, and I'm not kidding, from 1/2 pound to a tablespoonful, and get the better effect at the smaller amount. It's a wonderful aid to commercialization. So this product could be a groundbreaker for a large number of other things that could be presented in the same area if it turns out to get out of the lab. Now, it's in the lab, and we're looking at it to see for its commercial effect and how it's working, but the stories that we're getting lead me to believe that it's unlikely that it will not get out of the lab. And if it gets out of the lab, there are lots of products laying behind it using the same technology. So look forward to a pretty exciting time in the future with that delivery system. So I would like to have everybody in the sound of my voice contact me. Now, you've got my telephone number or my email address, or just contact them and send a message to me. There are a couple of emails that are attached to the M that I will get the answers to. If you like the delivery system, or the pros or the cons, I want to hear the good and the bad about the delivery system. And let's take a look at it, because we could deliver this in a different way if there was a better way that people liked better. But if you're happy with this delivery system, let us know so that we can incorporate in the development of new products, possibly using the same delivery system and the same technological advances.
So, Dr. Templeman, go ahead and tell us what would be the best way for them to contact you by email. What's your email that you're checking?
Dr. Templeman at m.network. We'll get it to me. So Dr. Templeman at m.network, you can send that to me and I'll get it. Send it to any of the people that you know here at corporate, and they'll forward it on to me. I have a telephone number, 801-369-3653. For the moment, I can still answer calls. I'm not overwhelmed. So you can call me and we can discuss things that you may have as questions. And I'm going to dig back through and find out who asked me about restless legs. And I said we had nothing. And I will now tell them to contact Paige, because we do need to connect and to be tied into people who've had similar experiences to learn how much are they using, when are they using it, etc. Because this is a very flexible thing. I use it, but for me, it's not for sleep. I use it for anxiety, and I use it on a PRN basis. I can spray it in my mouth and calm myself down within 10 minutes. It's really quite striking.
And how many sprays, how many squirts do you use?
I just use 3 sprays.
You use 3 sprays?
Yeah, 5 is more than enough, is more than too much for me. 3 is just about right for me.
Gotcha. Sheila, let me ask you that same
Hold on,
question.
I gotta go.
As far as how many squirts do you use? How many sprays do you use, Sheila?
I do 6 or 8.
6 or 8?
Yeah, just, I mean, it's sometimes 6, sometimes 8. I don't really know why, but that's just been my number.
Gotcha.
Now, Sheila, if you wake up in the night, do you take another spray?
No. And if I wake up during the night to go to the restroom, I have no trouble going right back to sleep.
Okay, so the effect is positive and carries on with 8 sprays. Some people
Yes.
I know have to take another spray when they go back to bed. Some take as many as 10, but others take as few as 2.
Wow.
They're highly variable.
Yeah. John and Paige, how about you all? How many squirts do you all do? And when do you do it?
I do 6, about a half hour before bed. Unless I fall asleep first and I get the elbow from John that tells me to take it, and I do it then. Very rarely do I wake up in the middle of the night and have to take a spray or 2. Maybe I see that once every 3 weeks, maybe once every 4 weeks, that I have a hard time falling back asleep if I wake up to use the restroom or whatever. And if I do, I'll take a squirt or 2. And it puts me right back to sleep within about 10 minutes.
I take lucky number 7, AJ, for myself. And, the more the merrier sometimes, but maybe sometimes not. But that's the marketing part of me speaking, If y'all want to take 20 squirts a night, you're on our team, take 20 squirts a night. No, you won't need that much. Order 10 bottles at a time. No, seriously, 7 squirts does it for me. And I will add this, that our for those that are wondering, can kids take this product? I already know what Dr. Temple will tell us, but we give it to our 7-year-old. We give her, she does have a medication she has to use, because of some other health challenges that puts her to sleep. But she used to have severe night terrors, severe, and taking 2 squirts along with the medication that she's on. Her night terrors are very minimalistic, like very rarely. And she sleeps pretty awesome. And some nights she gets incredible night's sleep and wakes up like a whole different child. Now, when she wakes up, she turns into a different child. But waking up is one thing. Throughout the day is a whole other thing. And you have children, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Now, we just had a question that I saw, AJ. They said, what time before they go to bed, how many hours before you go to sleep should you not take a stick with caffeine in it? And I can say that's variable. That's variable. If someone is a heavy coffee drinker and their system is used to caffeine, the likelihood is they could take it right before they went to sleep and it wouldn't make a difference. But if you're caffeine naive and you do not have caffeine, and I was talking today with a distributor who is caffeine naive, she cannot take it without it'll almost make her tremble. Even though this is not synthetic caffeine and it's slowly released from a food source, nonetheless, she's caffeine naive. She avoids caffeine in every other circumstance. And so she's highly sensitive to it. And in her case, you would say that it can be up to, I know this sounds awful, but it can be up to 12 hours that you can still have an effect from caffeine that will disturb your sleep. So if you're in the case of wondering how long before I stop taking anything with caffeine in it before I sleep, you have to experiment and go back and just take 1 hour at a time, go back and find out what works for you.
Absolutely. I'll tell you from my own personal experience, I've had incredible results myself, both me and my wife. The quality of sleep that we get is just a night and day difference. It really, really is a night and day difference, the quality that we get and how rested I feel when I wake up in the morning compared to how I felt beforehand. And I do 8 squirts, and I do it, pretty much when I lay down. That's when I go and take the squirts is when I go and lay my head on the pillow, and that's pretty much it. My world just starts getting a whole lot better, and I start falling asleep, and all goes well. And I even know, and I won't even go to explaining the whole testimony because we'll let her do it sometime. But we have a Kat Barnes, her pets. She has had results, and I'll let her tell her own story. I won't tell the story for her because I know we can't do that. but I know she has used it for her pets and had great results. So that is her story for her to tell sometime. But thank you so much, John and Paige and Sheila. Really appreciate you all being on the call, and Dr. Tippelman for helping to explain why it is and what's going on with this. And really appreciate it. This has been a great call. I know people are going to want to get out and let other people hear. Anything else, y'all? Anyone have anything last to say?
We're good.
Thanks, AJ.
Thank you, Dr. Templeman.
Bye,
Sheila,
Dr.
thank
Templeman.
you. AJ, thank you.
Thank y'all. Enjoyed
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks.
Real quick question, Dr. Templeman, that was put up on your email address. They were asking, is it Dr. Templeman or Dr. spelled out Templeman?
I believe it's just Dr. Templeman. If that doesn't work, try the other one. It's either Dr. Dot.
We're all about experimenting what works.
Okay.
Yes.
Have a great night, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
You too. Thanks.